Hi everyone, welcome. It is Wednesday. It means office hours here on the Academy. This is where you get your weekly updates from the panel, and this is where you have a chance to ask questions on Intune, ConfigMgr, MDT, pretty much anything related to Microsoft infrastructure. We'll be happy to answer. Andrew, shall we start this show?
We shall.
All right. All right, still stupidly proud of that little intro there, but welcome back, Andrew.
I love it. Thank you for having me, as always.
So, what happened in our little ecosystem the last 7 days?
So we've had a few things that I've caught coming across the wire, as it were, over the last week. One of my, I think one of the most exciting things for me, at least, that shows some promise for the future here is that Microsoft announced that they would be migrating endpoint security policies over to the unified settings platform. Now, right now, this, yes, exactly. I'm so excited for this. So this is starting with endpoint security policies created before April 2022. So if you've created policies since then, they're already over on the unified settings platform. But with this announcement, they're going to be starting with the Microsoft Defender antivirus policies. So why is this so exciting for us? Well, the unified settings platform is basically the foundation of the settings catalog, which, as these configuration settings and profiles are migrated over, that's going to help us as admins by providing a more consistent experience, naming different values of the settings. It's going to help us with reporting. Some of those things that, at least speaking for myself, you may not think of that could affect reporting, for example. Oftentimes Johan and I hear, and share the same frustration, I think, with some of the native built-in reports not being as good as we hope. But these sorts of things are helping to fix issues like that. Or if, for example, you've seen a setting in one place would say block, but in another place it says deny, or something along those lines. That consistency across those settings is really what we're excited for. So this is great to see this. You're pretty excited for it, Johan?
Super excited.
Love it. So we should see more and more of this as time goes on. I mean, we've been seeing it for the last year and a half or so, but happy to see this continue to happen. Now, another thing that I came across for you Patch My PC users out there, I know Johan is going to be excited for this one. By default, Patch My PC has been creating applications in Intune with the delivery optimization priority set to content download in background. And so there has been some user feedback that's been out there for a while, to have the ability within the Patch My PC management tool to set these applications right from the beginning as download content in foreground. This now made it to preview just yesterday, I believe it was, and also added an option to edit that setting in bulk for the other applications that you've already got out there. So this is something that we have primarily been suggesting, always set content download in foreground, because it's going to be faster. Ultimately, you're going to have devices get that content down quicker and then be able to share out to their friends much faster and more efficiently.
Yeah, one does not simply do DO background downloads. At least
Only
not
foreground.
Intune.
That's right. That's right. So this is exciting. I'm curious to see when this will make it into production, but I'm going to keep an eye out on this, and that's good news there.
All right.
Couple more community things that I came across. Sven over at Dell released an update to his Dell Command dashboard. So this is a dashboard that reports on some of the Dell tools in the command suite using log analytics. We're big fans of log analytics reporting here, so anytime I see some updates or new content surrounding that type of reporting, I'd love to share it. So for you Dell shops out there, this might be useful for you. And last that I have, but certainly not least, our friend David Segura posted earlier today that the OSD module used for OSD Builder was updated to include yesterday's Patch Tuesday updates. In addition, there are some updates to the OSD Cloud module that include some updated driver packs, and I think there were some other minor updates to that as well. So if you use those, please check out those updates and get those out in your environment.
And I saw a little comment there from David as well in the chat. Very excited about the release, of course.
Awesome. So that's what I had for this week. A few little community nuggets, Microsoft announcement, good stuff.
Well, I have some news as well that I stumbled across over the week. Let me find my screen. Here we go, and let's enable it. And let's clear that one. Give it some time to think about it. It doesn't show up just yet on my screen, but oddly enough. Huh. It was a rare event. We've been using this platform for quite a while. I'm gonna try to clear it and select it again. No, that one will not show at all. You are back on. See if I can actually remove it and add the source back in again.
If not, I've got a couple of your links available, I think, if you want to share my screen, you can talk through them.
Yeah, I think we will do that because my screen is coming right there.
Perfect time.
You threaten it by removing it, and then it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I need to. All right. Yeah. Long story short, there was an update for ConfigMgr being released a little while ago. A hotfix rollup that has some quite critical fixes in it for ConfigMgr. It turned out they didn't quite test that one very well. So they pulled it. So it's no longer available. For those of you that happen to install it, they released the hotfix for the hotfix. But long story short, organizations or some organizations that deploy this update, they noticed some performance problems in primarily the console after applying the update. So Microsoft is working on a re-release of the hotfix rollup, but it's currently not available. So if you are on the original 2303 release for ConfigMgr, you won't see any update at all. But if you did apply the sort of borked hotfix, there will be a hotfix for that hotfix available that you can install that will take care of those problems. So worth noting. There was another link that kind of explains the scenario a little bit more in detail. Then we will, of course, as usual, put these links in the chat. But that's basically what the issue was about. Then, of course, I'm stupidly proud of many things, but I am proud that our little, well, not so little, but our academy are now, let me go to MMS. We talked about MMS many times. It's the premier conference for ConfigMgr Intune content, the best one that is out there by far. But if you go over to MMS Miami and head down to sponsors. We have a little addition right here. Very proud to be a sponsor for MMS Miami, and I think we are in pretty good company right there on the screen.
I would say so, and that is what I would call shiny.
That is very shiny. So excited about that. And speaking of our friends over at Patch My PC here, it is Patch Tuesday, or what? Well, it was Patch Tuesday yesterday. Today we are working with it. Most organizations are. And I know this because I had to rebuild the WSUS server earlier today. Well, in combination with the software update point, I had to reinstall, and it took a little while to synchronize the categories. And then I realized, yeah, of course, today after Patch Tuesday, I'm not the only one synchronizing updates. Probably one or two customers more. That's it.
I would think so.
Yeah. Either way, patchtuesday.com is a good resource for everything about these updates. Yeah.
If you want to click over to their blog too, I noticed that they published an article about Intune scope tags and role-based access.
I should be able to do that. I have done left-clicking courses.
So pretty cool stuff over there. I mean, we get asked about this from time to time and talk about it in some of our courses and things like that. We've worked with some customers on this in the past as well. Nice little overview on how you can scope devices and create your own role-based access roles within Intune so that you can more strictly configure who can see and do what within Intune. Really useful.
Yeah, I mean, for those with a ConfigMgr background, you recognize a lot of this, and it doesn't seem so strange at all. But if you're fresh into Intune and you stumble across this for the first time, it has a bit of a learning curve to it. So, but yeah, great post there. Excellent. Then, of course, we presented for the Minneapolis or Twin City user group Monday last week, and let's see if I can get my cursor back. Here we go. Gary Blok shared his sequence that they published, or he published for that very conference. I saw that show up earlier this week. So this one here is a recommendation. You have the slides for the OSD Day available for download, and of course Gary's blog. No, it's Wednesday. Gary Blok's blog.
Got
Say
it.
that fast 10 times, I dare you. Anyhow, GaryTown.com. This is where you find the content from that. Very, very shiny session on advanced sequences.
I imagine quite a bit of knowledge shared that day.
Yeah, it was a full room. It was packed, sold out. So that was sold out, but it was full.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Another news friendly reminder, it's only a few weeks to go now, but we do have our free mini course coming up on the Academy. It will be Morris, Mike, and yours truly that will spend an hour and a half on driver and BIOS management. And the price for that one is just right. All right, that's all I had.
Awesome. We do have a question here from Tim over on YouTube already. Is there an end of life date for MDT?
Nothing that has been announced, but MDT, as I see it, hasn't had a single update in 3 years. And that was for the standalone version. The ConfigMgr part of it haven't had an update in almost a decade now. Well, 7-8 years. I don't think that one will receive any more updates, but I don't know for sure, but I haven't heard any indication whatsoever. And since Microsoft on their website for the MDT product or solution announced that they won't support Windows 11, that to me is kind of an indication that they're not going to support it indefinitely. But so far, still out there, still works. And it actually works with Windows 11. You can deploy it just fine. But it's not supported, meaning they don't test it. So right now, the only platform that fully supports deployment of Windows 11, from Microsoft at least, is ConfigMgr. That's all.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Any other questions out there? We'll be happy to answer. And we have a good 43 minutes available for it.
A little too early in the hour to have us already start talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, we can't have that. It's way too early.
Yeah. Been working through some upgrades of devices from Windows 10 to Windows 11, just using the feature update policy recently. That's been exciting.
Yeah? You happy with the result, or did it leave room for improvements?
And with only 2 devices and without scaling out, I'm pretty happy. But let me get back to you when I, am doing 500 or 1,000 of them, and we'll see.
Yeah, I spent my last week deploying literally thousands and thousands of devices. We were doing benchmark tests for one of our products, and that was I basically deployed and deployed and deployed. I spent a lot of time in front of that KVM switches.
I can imagine. A little bit of PowerShell peppered in there, I assume.
Of course, one does
Yes.
not simply.
It's not as easy to deploy thousands of devices or hundreds of devices even without some level of automation.
No, that is correct.
All right, we got Tim actually asked another question here on YouTube. How do you repair the Intune agent for a Win 10 device that is co-managed?
I can't say I've had the need to repair an agent.
No, I don't think I've come across that either.
I mean, in theory, it gets added in add remove programs. Might be able to remove it and it will come back next time it needs it. Every time you try to run a script or a Win32 app from Intune, that extension gets installed like right away because it's needed for those functions. But as per repairing it, I don't know. I have seen 4 billion articles on how to troubleshoot it, but nothing around repairing it.
Mm-mm. Yeah, in theory, I've never come across that scenario, but in theory, exactly what you said should work, depending on the checks that happen in the background. Remove it, assign an application, install the application, and see what happens. Let's see, there's a follow-up comment that the device is not fully registering in Intune and getting the policy.
Well, I doubt that would be related to the IME agent. That one is not responsible for enrollment. Unless I missed a memo recently. Interesting question, though.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a issue worthy of diving into logs, that's for sure.
Found a blog post from someone. Oh, that was just the usual forcing reinstallation of an app. We've covered that many times. Nope. Nothing on repairing. If anyone happened to be in the call, having done a repair of that agent, by all means, let us know. I'll be happy to share it, but it's not something that I stumbled across. And my searching skills are failing me as well at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really just coming across the generic MS Docs troubleshooting enrollment page, which I can certainly add to our links for today. There's the common stuff that we normally recommend, verifying first. And I say common because we have all faced enrollment challenges where we didn't assign a license or, have something configured properly. So just giving those a second look would be helpful. But I do like in this doc, it does have a table of enrollment error codes at the bottom. If you want to share my screen for a moment, Johan.
On it.
Thank you, sir. This table at least gives some possible solutions if you come across one of these error codes. So, Tim, I don't know if this will help with your exact issue, but it's a useful document to have available anyways when you're troubleshooting.
Yeah, I mean, we have also showcased many times in office hours the debug toolkit from Matthias that he put together up on the MS Endpoint Manager blog. That one has for enrollment issues as well. That could be helpful.
Yep, so we'll make sure we get these added, and then if you haven't joined us before, these links will be available up on the YouTube live stream link
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah, we also post them to the Academy site for those of you that are using that one more frequently. But YouTube is usually where we get things added first, and yeah, that's where most of our viewers are watching the content afterwards. So that was a simple choice. All right. Any other questions?
All right. Looks like we've got one coming in from Michael on YouTube. Quick question about backups. Would you go for SQL backups or site backups for primaries? Being told that SQL will miss out on parts like cd.latest and site will do these, so it's better. I think SQL is better. Do you agree?
Yeah, SQL is better. The main reason is, I mean, Michael is correct to a point. It by default doesn't grab the cd.latest folder, but that is very easy to add as a PowerShell job in the maintenance plan that you use for SQL. So you can absolutely have it to do that. For those of you that are having regular file backups at the site server, of course, that folder will be included in those as well. But SQL backup has those benefits. I'm still in the screen
Sounds good.
without even asking. Let's see if it actually shows up this time. What on earth? Let me try this one more time. Otherwise, I'm going to force you to show it.
That's the beauty of being in charge, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Let's see if it decides to. There we go.
All right.
Here, SQL. Here. So when you set up a regular maintenance plan in SQL for a ConfigMgr backup, you do have the option of including a regular agent job. And this particular job is indeed modifying that or backing up that latest folder with just a PowerShell script. So very, very easy to do. It archives it to a zip file and does it. But the main reason to use SQL for this is that, first of all, it will compress the backup. And even in my tiny, tiny lab environment here, if I take a look on the database here, this one is about 30 gigs in size, so fairly small. But if I look at the backup folder, that was not the backup folder. This is the backup folder. You can see that the compressed version, and that one was done yesterday. So that's about, I don't know, 20% of the original size. And there are customers out there that have a terabyte ConfigMgr database. And if you do the native stuff in ConfigMgr, it will not compress it. So it also will stop services while it's running, and I don't like that. So my recommendation is to simply do not use the one that is here, that one that you configure through maintenance tasks. Skip that one, set that one to not disabled, and use SQL. That would be my recommendation for those reasons. Faster, better, doesn't stop anything.
Good stuff. All right. Well, while you were mentioning that, we had a few more questions come in. Got everybody keeping us busy now.
Good.
Exactly. So we've got a question coming in from LinkedIn. I have a question on an error for you. We're starting to build hybrid join sites. On one, we are getting an error code in the final phases. No apps deployed at the moment. Azure AD hybrid join works and the on-site domain join succeeds. The error we're getting is failed H result 0x80070002. That error code looks familiar to me, but that might just be one of those generic.
Yeah, that one shows up a little bit everywhere for different scenarios.
I wonder where that, if the hybrid join, if it's joining Azure AD and on site, where is that error showing up?
I mean, there are a good chunk of information about that error code out there. So you're not the only one having that trouble, but it's not something that I recognize, have seen.
No, I'm mostly seeing some. If this is related to autopilot, and I don't think autopilot was in the question, but if it is related to autopilot, I just see some forum posts essentially that are maybe similar issues.
I think this is one of the cases where I actually have to sit down and dig a little bit deeper into the logs and events to see what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I can come up with on the top of my head, at least. We have seen a lot of issues recently with Windows Hello and hybrid joins, but that this seems to be something different.
Yep.
So sorry, no additional info there at the moment. That will require some investigation.
Yeah, definitely. Russell's asking a question here on YouTube. Speaking of repairing, I keep getting WMI corruptions on PCs, and sometimes it's not apparently repairable, and we rebuild the PC. Any recommendations?
That's actually quite rare these days. It used to be very, very common back in the XP and even early Windows 7 days, but since Windows 10 and later, WMI breaking down is actually not too common. I would suspect something interfering, like an antivirus software or something. I mean, the fix is easy. You reimage the device and you're back again, but for how long? If this is just a few one-off devices, I wouldn't worry about it. But if this is something that constantly happens, that there must be something there that injects and destroys it. I think. I was curious to know the frequency of those corruptions. How many basically percentages that are getting it?
Mm-hmm. One or two every couple of months was the follow-up comment.
Yeah. That might be going into a rabbit hole trying to figure out that part if it's only one or two devices getting it. But I mean, obviously annoying when it happens, but that one can be a hard one to troubleshoot.
All right. We've got a question here from Claudio on YouTube. Since the unified write filter is not supported by Intune, any chance it could be worked out using OMA URI or CSP for multi-app kiosk? I'm not sure about you, Johan. I'm not normally working with a lot of the kiosk scenarios, but I do know that Jurgen posted an article recently that Windows 11 multi-app kiosk is coming, currently in an optional update for Windows 11. But because it is still optional, it's still not able to be configured through Intune just yet, at least as of a month ago. So that was pretty much what I was finding on it. I know that.
I mean, if it's only about, I haven't seen any CSPs for it, but if it's only about
Mm-hmm.
managing it, for example, to put it into mode where you can enable or disable the right filter service, those are command line tools available that you can run for this, so you can have scripts in Intune running to do that type of setting or command line. And even the configuration you can do through command line. So maybe something like that. I did wrote, it was a while back now, but I did put together a blog post on using this for Windows 10, and of course this also works for Windows 11, but the various command lines that are available to enable it and then configure it, you can start a program with. So maybe something like that could be helpful. Unless someone out there has done a really nice Intune integration for this and just haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, let us know.
Definitely possible. All right, Diego is asking on YouTube, I currently have a client that has a CAS site in the SCCM architecture and 3 primary sites in 3 different countries connected to that CAS. They're also on version 2107, which is out of Microsoft support. According to your experience, is it better to update this hierarchy as is or place a new site and move what is required? Or what would be your recommendation?
I mean, that is one of those lovely it depends answers. If you just want to upgrade to a new version, you follow the normal in-place upgrades support for ConfigMgr because that works for CAS environments as well. But if the goal is to collapse it, then there actually are collapse options in the platform these days. You typically work with Microsoft support. They will have to go through that process of collapse these sites into one single primary site, assuming you are under the 150,000 client threshold. But I have worked with a few customers already. They used to have a CAS, now they don't. And they just work through that scenario and collapse them into a single primary site. And they have not, for one bit, regretted that decision. It's so much simpler to use and manage if you have a platform or an organization that don't have more than 150,000 devices.
I've never had the pleasure of experiencing a CAS.
I have plentiful. It is no fun. Unless your idea of having fun is troubleshooting single replication, then it's fun. Or possibly if you're a consultant and you build by the hour, then it's pretty great too, because everything is so slow. You change your sequence, you can take some coffee, you can back, you can try it.
Wow.
So no fun. So Diego, if you have a chance, get rid of it, but work with Microsoft to collapse that one for the customer.
All right. Claudio's also asking on YouTube how to handle a start menu layout for a kiosk device that would have tiles for web links and custom icons. Is that even possible?
For normal machines, absolutely yes. There are plenty of examples for that. For a kiosk device, I'm not sure. I like to say Jurgen had something out there for it.
For the kiosk specifically?
Maybe not.
I've got his customizing the Windows 11 start menu using Intune article up if you'd like to share that. But same, I'm not sure if that will work in the kiosk scenario. But this might be something to take a look at. As always, there's some caveats with customizing the Windows 11 start menu. And again, I don't know if this will work with kiosk mode, but say follow-up comment here from Michael on YouTube. We have a CAS. I cry every day.
It's understandable. Can take the can get the best of us,
Sounds like it.
or get to the best of us, whatever the expression is.
All right. So for Claudio's question, I don't know if you found anything else, Johan, but I'll at least share this link for customizing the Windows 11 Start menu using Intune, and perhaps that'll help.
Yeah, I found Sandy's old post on setting up Kiosk devices,
Nice.
and she was using a start menu layout. So that could be promising. Let's see, which screen are we sharing at the moment? That will be yours. All right. Let me do this and this and here. So this one, a little bit older, but should still be valid. Microsoft rarely removes functionality for the same version of Windows once it's out there, but this one covers a little bit of the layout options here, and this was for a kiosk type configuration. So maybe that.
All right. We've got a question from Sean over on YouTube. What modifications are needed in MDT to deploy Windows 11?
Very few, actually. There are only a few ones on the ADK part that are like required. So if you are on the latest version of ADK, you want to review this post here, because as long as you make a copy of the 64-bit boot image and just call it x86, the workbench is not going to complain about not having an 32-bit available anymore. It's not going to use it anyway, but it just needs to be there. And then there was the official hotfix for. Let's see if I put that link here. Known issues for MDT. If you use the latest version of the ADK, it's going to whine. But you basically have to update. Let's see. Yeah, this one here. You just smack in the registry key in your unattended file that goes into the boot image, and that problem goes away. So you basically, this section here, you have to add. And then you can deploy Windows just fine. Windows 11 just fine with MDT Light Touch. You can even build images with it. Build and capture works. I've tested that both for Windows 11 21H2 as well as 22H2.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. Michael's got an interesting question here on YouTube. Have you ever seen the ConfigMgr built-in change tracking cleanup not working? I know the default is 5 days. One of my primaries hit 120 days and 2.7 billion records. Tried restoring to a new database and site reset, but it's still broken and increasing again.
I have not seen that. That Michael is one of those shiny support calls, I think. That is not the expected behavior at all.
Oh, I would say it's pretty rare for any expected behavior to be counted in billions typically.
Yeah, that's a lot of records.
And he just followed up and said, yeah, Microsoft gave up.
Okay, so they tried the support route and they gave up. That is interesting. Well, then the only thing I can think of is basically migrate to a new site. Set up a brand new ConfigMgr and migrate to clients over. Migrate content over. Because that is not the normal behavior. Yeah, and that seemed to be the route that we're going anyway. So, all right, good call.
All right. Sean had another question over here on YouTube: how to strip off all default Windows 11 apps for all users during an image build in MDT.
I mean, there are basically a few options available to do so. One quite effective one is to do it before you even deploy the image. So you just service the image and remove the stuff that you don't want out of it. Or you can do that through the WinP phase during deployment. It doesn't add too much time to the deployment process of removing stuff that way. And of course, with PowerShell, you can also remove it later, but I don't quite see the point of having the installer or Windows setup installing something that I know I'm going to remove 10 minutes later. I think it's wiser to remove it before it gets installed. But either way is perfectly fine. They will be removed. Davis did a PowerShell module, a little, pretty big PowerShell module. The OC Builder one definitely has the capability of removing components out of the image. That's a good choice. Otherwise, you will find plenty of examples on how to do that through a normal deployment. Remove components. Because the fewer components there are, well, you will save a little bit of deployment time, but you will also save a lot of bandwidth later because you don't have to update those components in Windows. So you can also disable the other things like the consumer experience applications. That's done through a policy. You can disable the other cloud experience or cloud offerings. That also policies. So yeah, that'll be my take on that.
Good tips. All right. Claudio's asking on YouTube, when bulk enrolling devices with a PPKG, the account used will create fake package underscore users. Do we need to clean those manually when they're no longer required, or does Intune manage that?
If you're referring to the user account that gets created up in Azure when you're creating that bulk enrollment package, yeah, that one eventually have to get removed. Otherwise, you may have problems creating new bulk enrollment packages. That's at least what I've seen when using it. You basically get an error saying, no, could not create this package, and then you have to get and remove that user. It's probably documented somewhere. I just don't know where that somewhere is.
Yeah.
Dang, good questions. Any other questions out there?
We've got a whole 10 minutes left.
Heck yeah. Well, I do not see any. There we go. Coming in from LinkedIn. I don't quite get that. Okay, it was back to the enrollment question earlier. There was some additional error codes shared in the chat here. The error code was 80180005. Andrew, do you have that error code list handy that you showed earlier?
I do. Let me pull that up.
Was it even on that list?
Does not look like it.
Looks like it's an autopilot error code. Basically, enrollment rejected.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming up with too, mostly autopilot references.
If Rudy had a post on that.
I actually just came across that. You want me to pop that up?
Yes, please.
I think this one.
Yeah, the WhiteGlove one. Yeah, well, pre-provisioning as it's called these days. Oh, that will be a debug session. Check the event log for other related events. All right.
Right, I've got those on my list. I'll make sure those links get shared for reference later.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else out there? We still have a few more minutes. Right, I don't see any other questions coming in. So thank you everyone that joined us today, and thank you Andrew for joining as well. And we both wish you a great rest of your week. Thank you everyone.
Yep. Thanks everybody. Have a great one.